Hello, I'm Karishma and welcome to Happily Divorced. And I'm so excited to be here today. Today, I'm going to be talking about co-parenting with intention. And here I am 3 years later, and my co-parenting relationship is amazing. And the reason I wanted to share this with you all today is it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of introspection. It took a lot of me really being with myself to realize that divorce isn't bad. My ex-husband isn't my enemy. And we get to create this relationship in the way that we want, in a way that's truly amicable, in a way that's truly supportive. We get to care about each other, but just in a different way than just being married. And I wanted to share what transpired the other day, which I felt was nothing short of magical. The other day, my ex called me. He had the kids on Friday night. And sometimes I have twins. I have my boy-girl twins that are 13 years old. And sometimes parenting is really hard, especially when you have very opinionated, very fiery, very, just teenagers, right? Teenagers. And there was something that we needed to get my kids to do, our kids to do. And there was a music audition recording that they both needed to submit for this camp that they're attending this fall. Just as usual, I sent the requirements to my two children. My daughter, who's just like me, a bit of a people pleaser, very regimented, very strict, good listener, all the things. She gets it done within an hour of me submitting the instructions on Thursday. Lo and behold, it's Friday evening. X has the kids, and my son is nowhere near picking up his instrument to do what he needed to do. And apparently they got into it because I got the phone call a few minutes later with my ex super frustrated, my son super resistant, shut down, all the things. And I had plans that I made with the kids. Those plans got canceled. And lo and behold, here we were. On Saturday, my ex calls me after dropping the kids off at an activity. And he called me and he was like, "Hey, Karishma, I couldn't get our son, Ryan, to do what he needed to do." At which point we got to go deeper into it. And the question that I asked him was, how did you connect with your kids? How did you connect with your children? And he said, "I don't know what you mean with that." And I said, and this is something that I'm learning more and more every single day. My kids are the greatest teacher in my life. My kids teach me so much about myself. They teach me to really pay attention to myself. They make me very uncomfortable, especially when they don't do what I tell them to do, all the things that I tell them to do. And I have a lot of to-do lists, and I can be very type A, and I have high expectations of my children. And what I'm learning more and more every single day, and I got to have this talk with my ex, was I can't expect my children, especially my son, to do anything unless he feels close to me, unless he feels connected to me, unless he feels seen, unless he feels safe, unless he feels secure. And so therefore, like every other teenager, it's so easy to pick up those devices. It's so easy to check out. It's so easy to disconnect with the phone, with the devices, with this superficial world that's been created on social media and completely check out. And what I'm realizing more and more is when I want my kids to do something, I really have to be okay with how the agenda unfolds. I really have to ask myself, as things come up, as they don't meet my deadlines, is it really about them? Or is it really about me? And what I'm realizing more and more is a lot of this journey is about me. So I got to have this conversation with my ex, and he was really frustrated. He wanted Ryan to do what he needed to do. And he's like, "Karishma, he's wasting his life. He's wasting his time. He's wasting his energy." And I said, "Are you sure you're not just putting that projection onto your son? Perhaps it has nothing to do with Ryan and has everything to do with how you feel. Because I know Ryan certainly brings up those thoughts in me too." At which point, me being the coach, me being the one who's generally been pretty self-aware, my ex was shocked. And the next moment after a silence, he said, "You have those thoughts too?" To which I said, "Absolutely. My son brings it up in me every single week, if not every single day. But I get to see it for what it is, which has nothing to do with my son, has everything to do with me." And therefore, this conversation about parenting, this conversation about an agenda, this conversation about this audition became this beautiful avenue for self-reflection, for self-growth, a reminder to my ex, and honestly, a reminder to myself of what does it look like to really connect with my child? What does it really look like to create that safe avenue for my child, my children, both of them, to feel seen, heard, and understood, and to feel deeply appreciated, and not because they're being little mini me's and doing what I'm telling them to do in my agenda and my timeline. But it's really about being themselves. It's really about being safe to be themselves. It's about them feeling like they can be who they are and have the hard conversations and be able to like take a chill pill and have mom understand that, you know what, it's been a busy day, or it's been a busy weekend, or they haven't gotten enough rest, or they're tired, or they're hungry, or all the things that we have as adults. And somehow when we have those things, we procrastinate. We slack off. Most of the time, there's nobody outside of us telling us exactly what to do. We have those to-do lists and we are far from perfect. I know, me too, from getting those to-do lists done in the way that I want to. But how egoic is it of me to put those impositions on my children, on my partner, on my parents, on my ex-husband, on anyone outside of myself? And so this conversation, I'm here to share with you that divorce isn't bad. Divorce isn't ugly. Divorce doesn't have to be hostile. Divorce doesn't have to be toxic. And one of the biggest ahas that I had in my journey just a few years ago was, I heard this thing in an NLP conference, and I'm a coach and I've gone through a lot of seminars, a lot of coaching, a lot of self-development, all the things. But I heard something that really took my breath away a few years ago. And what I heard was, if you think of the trajectory of healthy children, the healthiest children are the ones that are in one safe, secure, happy household with two parents, married or together. But the second best thing to that were two independent households with two happy parents that are coexisting, where the children feel safe, they feel secure in both households. And at the very, very bottom of that spectrum was one household, two unhappy parents, children living with fighting, with arguing, with stonewalling, with all the things that happen when two parents are not happy together. And when I heard that, my kids were 7 years old, it took my breath away, because my ex and I, we'd been together for 17 years, and we were happy enough, but our lives were about the children. That friendship piece wasn't there as much. The deep connection wasn't there. And I am not here to put my ex down. I'm just here to tell you my truth. But if you asked us individually if we were really happy and happy together, we weren't. I was a very different 23-year-old that got married than I was, several years ago at 40. When the divorce was initiated. And, it took a lot of going through hard things, of going through counseling, of going through individual counseling, marriage counseling, lots of coaching sessions, all the things, to finally face the truth that, what? For me, I wasn't happy. And I knew my ex wasn't happy. And I heard something. One of my coaches, as we're having these sessions with each other, she asked me the question, what do you really feel about love? What do you really feel about your love? Loving, and your ability to receive love, your ability to get love, your ability to give love. And I sat with that hard question for a while. And I came to my own truth that deep down, I didn't feel deserving. Deep down, I didn't feel worthy. Deep down, I didn't feel like I really deserved to be loved. I didn't feel lovable. If you asked me all the things, I was super put together on the outside, perfect Facebook pictures, perfect family pictures, perfect everything, successful in a job. You would never know anything was wrong at home. But inside, I felt really empty. Inside, I felt really alone. And I know my ex felt that. And again, there are two people that were in this relationship that had simply evolved, that had simply changed. And it was hard. It was really hard. And I'm Indian. You don't get divorced. You sacrifice yourself for the family. As a woman, your worth, individual worth, is no value. It's about how the family is. It's about how the kids are. It's about how everyone else is outside of you. It has nothing to do with your happiness, your joy, how you feel. And no wonder so many of us feel so lost and so alone. And the second that there's any talk about marriage not being good, right? The stuff behind closed doors, it's almost a reflection of your worthiness and your ability to be successful, or your ability or your failure, one or the other. And I've seen this amongst a lot of Asian women and men, but particularly with the women. Our worth is just not there. Our value is not there. And so my divorce, here I am 3 years later, starting this podcast. My divorce has been my biggest source of self-liberation. Because for the first time after 17 years, a few years ago, I went away from being full-time wife, full-time mom, to now splitting time with my ex-husband, to not being a wife, not being a full-time mom. And all of a sudden, as these labels, these key labels had become my primary identifiers were stripped away, for the first time in my life, I got to ask myself, Karishma, who are you? Who are you underneath all of this? Who are you when you're not a mom? Who are you when you're not a wife? And then the really hard fears came up. Can I do this? Can I take care of my children? I had been so codependent on my ex-husband. He paid every bill. He paid every credit card statement. I had no idea how much money we had. I had no idea how to pay the bills for my mortgage, for my house, for my car payments. I had no idea. I had completely not taken responsibility in any such way because that's the role that he played, and I got to come along for the ride for 17 years. And then, thankfully my business was going really well, so I felt like I was going to be okay. But as that divorce was filed, as that separation happened, the divorce was filed, there was a lot of angst. There was a lot of fear going through little things like car payments and insurance things and paying bills and settling my home, payments and balances on all things. All these things were really, really hard. And I can tell you, those of you that are women specifically, that are leaning on a man to take care of you financially, there's nothing wrong with that. But I know that the second that I stepped into that role of also paying attention, of also really paying attention, not just contributing like work and a paycheck, but really contributing and really paying attention to really being a co-creator of that abundance, a co-creator of responsibility. Like when I started really taking that responsibility for myself in that role, my God, I'm so empowered today. And that empowerment for me has been so huge because life gave me a lot of challenges. I started exploring all these roles and responsibilities I didn't have, taking care of handyman things. House things would break down. I would freak out. I would completely shut down. Car things would happen. Oh my God, what do I do? Lawn care, shit, where do I go? And the list went on and on and on. The kids, I was fine with. I say that, I'm kind of laughing now because the kids part was probably the hardest. Because 3.5 years ago, when that divorce was final, or even the 6-8 months before when we were separated, my kids had a really hard time. My son had a really hard time. He was angry. He was angry. He would yell. He would scream. He would throw stuff across the room. My son had a lot of rage, a lot of resentment, a lot of anger. What happened? Their life was okay. All of a sudden, their life was okay. Their parents were in the same household, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And there were a lot of really big feelings for two very young children, one child being more expressive than the other. And I got to go through this. And as I was dealing with rage, as I was dealing with anger, as I was dealing with frustration, as I was dealing with my children not hearing me, not listening to me, really pushing back on every little thing, it allowed me to come back to myself. That instead of having that crutch, or, and you're two parents in a household, you support each other and you have a plan B. You have a crutch, you have a safety net. All of a sudden, when you're on your own and you're the only parent in that household and there's nobody else, there is no safety net. It's you. And every one of those trials, every one of those hardships, every one of those instances that brought me down to my knees, and there were many, many, from children to finances to house stuff to all of it, to weight gain. I mean, the list goes on. Every one of those things created a fundamental opportunity for me to come back home to myself. And what I can tell you right now, 3.5 years later, is this whole journey is about you. It has nothing to do with what's outside of you. It's everything to do with inside of you, because how you cultivate your own trust, how you cultivate your own certainty, how you cultivate just your being okay in your own skin isn't about looking to the other. It's about really when those things come up, like, oh my God, Karishma, I get to nurture me right now. When my child is having a tantrum and I feel completely powerless, I get to mother me right now. When I'm really angry and resentful because, damn it, none of this stuff was what I envisioned my life to look like, I have to come back home to me, really reassure me, Karishma, you've got what it takes to get through this. You've got what it takes to navigate hard things. You've got what it takes to navigate divorce and relationships and kids and parenting and co-parenting, and the list goes on. And through all of it, oh, by the way, I had this successful business that was doing really well before the divorce. During the 6 to 9 month period between my separation and the divorce being final, my sales were at a standstill. What people don't realize is health, wealth, relationships, it's all connected. When you're going through volatility, when you're going through things, no wonder your finances can't take off until you're stable within you. And so that entire period, that entire 9-month period of my life, it was all about me finding out who I was in the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of all this uncertainty, because I had no idea if I could. And I can tell you right now, the journey into me, getting support within me, to love me, to find me, to know who I was, to find clarity within me, to learn how to cultivate a different relationship with myself, that has been the biggest thing that has made the difference in everything. So I'm so excited to be here today. And I'm so excited that conversation with my ex-husband was such gold, because it's like it reminded me, wow, this relationship today that we have is because we decided together that we were going to make divorce what we wanted it to be. We were going to define our own relationship with co-parenting, our own relationship as two people that are friends that just genuinely care about each other. It doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be ugly. My exes come on family trips with me. Yeah, we went to Europe together 2 years ago. My kids wanted to see Harry Potter and my parents wanted to go too. And we went to Europe together, all of us. I went to a wedding last year, a year ago, with my ex-husband's really good family friends. I was there, it was a little awkward, I'll be honest. But I'm just here to tell you that none of this stuff is what everyone else thinks it should be. It can just be what you decided to be. And what it takes is courage. What it takes is resilience. What it takes is knowing who you are, because a lot of people are not going to understand this podcast. My last few divorce posts on social media, I got some support, but I also got some naysayers that were like, Karishma, what are you doing? Why are you advocating for divorce? And I'm like, what I'm doing is not advocating for divorce. I'm advocating for self-love. I'm advocating for knowing who the hell you are. I'm advocating for being okay without the labels today, being okay being who you are today. It has nothing to do with the other, it has everything to do with you. So if you're interested in having a journey that is about expression of self, stay tuned, follow my podcast, and let's go on this journey together. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for listening.